Hey everyone, and a huge namaste to all our UPSC folks getting ready for mains and prelims.
Yeah.
We're diving into something today that could really shake things up globally.
Yeah,
Talking about reciprocal tariffs, and this is straight from your syllabus, so listen up.
absolutely.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
You're on Amazon, you find that awesome new phone you've been wanting,
Right.
you're about to buy it, and then bam,
Oh,
huge
no.
customs duty pops up.
Yikes.
Makes it way more expensive than you thought.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's kind of what reciprocal tariffs can do, but like on a massive scale.
Right. Affecting whole countries.
Exactly. Whole economies even.
Wow.
So get ready to take some notes because we're going deep on this,
Love it.
using some great articles from Indian Express and IT and BT.
Those are good sources for sure.
We'll break it all down, what this policy means, how it could hit India,
Okay.
and why it matters for your UPSC goals.
It's all connected.
It really is.
You know, it's amazing to think how this one policy could totally change the global trade system as we know it.
It's a big deal.
For decades, the world has been moving towards freer trade.
Right.
Like, we've seen these huge agreements get the WTO.
Yeah, I remember studying those.
They were all about reducing those barriers to trade and getting the global economy moving.
Makes sense.
And you know, these agreements were really important for India's growth, too.
Oh, how so?
They had special provisions that let developing economies like ours use tariffs to protect their industries.
So it's like giving our industries a little shield while they're still getting strong, right?
Exactly. These provisions let developing countries charge higher tariffs on imports compared to developed countries.
Okay.
It was about making things a bit more fair.
Leveling the playing field.
Exactly.
I like it.
But now we have Trump's reciprocal tariffs policy, and it's a potential game changer.
Oh, yeah, this is where things get interesting.
This policy basically says, forget those old norms,
What?
and tries to put tariffs in place that match what other countries are charging the U.S.
So if I'm understanding this right,
Yeah.
the U.S. is basically saying, hey, if you put a high tariff on our stuff, we're going to hit you back with the same tariff on yours.
That's the main idea, yeah.
Interesting.
Trump calls this a move towards fairness in trade.
Okay.
But it's important to remember this ignores the history of global trade.
Right.
And why those special provisions for developing economies were there in the first place.
Good point. Okay, so before we get too deep into it,
Sure.
let's make sure we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, good idea.
Can you give us a simple explanation of what tariffs actually are?
Absolutely. Tariffs are basically taxes on things brought in from other countries.
Okay.
Imports, right? So say the U.S. puts a 20% tariff on a car imported from India.
Okay, I'm
It
following.
means the Indian company making that car has to pay 20% of the car's value to the U.S. government before they can sell it there.
Gotcha.
This makes the Indian car more expensive for Americans.
Right, so they might not buy it.
Exactly. They might choose a car made in the U.S. or one that's cheaper.
Makes sense. So with these reciprocal tariffs, the U.S. would be saying, okay, India, if you put a 20% tariff on our cars, we'll do the same thing to yours.
Right.
A tariff tit for tat.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even more complicated.
Uh-oh.
The U.S. isn't just looking to match tariffs exactly.
Oh, really?
They're also thinking about things like subsidies and financial help given to exporters.
Interesting.
This is where things could get tricky for India.
How so?
Especially with our Production Linked Incentive Scheme, or PLI.
The PLI scheme?
It's all about giving incentives to boost manufacturing and exports here in India.
Yeah, to help our industries grow.
Exactly, but the U.S. might see it differently.
Ooh.
Wait, so you're saying the PLI scheme, which is supposed to be helping our industries, could actually backfire with these reciprocal tariffs? It's a possibility.
Wow, that's a concern.
The U.S. might think the PLI scheme is an unfair advantage.
I see.
Like it's giving Indian exporters an artificial boost. And this could make them put even higher tariffs on Indian goods,
Really?
even if India's original tariffs on something from the U.S. was pretty low.
So the U.S. is basically saying, we're watching everything you're doing to help your exporters,
Yeah, pretty much.
which could cancel out any advantage India might have had with tariffs in the first place.
Right.
This could be a big deal for India, especially since we've had pretty high tariffs on some U.S. goods in the past, right?
Absolutely. And those are exactly the implications we'll be talking about next.
Okay, this is where it gets really real.
Stay tuned, because this is where things get super relevant for our UPSC folks.
Can't wait to dig in.
Me too. You see, the numbers paint a pretty clear picture here.
Okay, lay it on me.
Trade between India and the U.S. is huge.
Yeah, I've heard it's a lot.
Well over $82 billion.
Wow, that's massive.
And right now, India has a big trade surplus with the U.S.
Meaning we're selling them more that we're buying from them, right?
Exactly. But if these reciprocal tariffs actually happen, some of India's biggest export sectors could take a serious hit.
Like which ones?
Textiles, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, even things like food products and jewelry.
So all stuff that's important to the Indian economy.
Right, all those things could get way more expensive for people in the U.S.
Got it. Okay, so let's bring this back to the bigger picture for a sec.
Sure.
Especially for our UPSC folks out there.
Right, they need to know this stuff.
This isn't just about some abstract economic theories. We're talking about real-world impacts here.
Absolutely.
What are some things we might actually see happen if these tariffs become a reality?
Well, if those U.S. tariffs make Indian goods more expensive,
Yeah,
they're not going to be as competitive in the U.S. market.
makes sense.
This could mean a drop in Indian exports,
Oh no,
potentially impacting businesses, jobs, the whole economy even.
not good.
Definitely something to think about for your economics notes.
Definitely writing that down
On the other hand, India might have to start importing more from the U.S.
to even things out.
Exactly, which could mean cheaper American products for people in India.
Okay, so maybe not all bad.
Right, it's not so simple, though.
I had a feeling there was more to it.
Remember India's Atmanirbhar Bharat
Yeah,
initiative?
promoting self-reliance, right?
Exactly, all about boosting domestic production.
Making things here in India.
But relying more on imports from the U.S.
Yeah.
could actually work against that whole initiative.
Interesting.
Plus, a sudden increase in imports
Yeah.
could lead to the Indian rupee losing value.
Which is bad, right?
It can have all sorts of economic consequences.
Like a chain reaction.
Exactly, a web of interconnected things.
And that's what makes this so interesting from a UPSC standpoint.
For sure.
Absolutely understanding all these little details
Yeah,
is key to answering those tough mains questions.
you got it.
But before we get too deep into the implications for India,
Okay,
I think it's important to understand why this policy is even happening.
good point.
Why is Trump pushing so hard for these reciprocal tariffs?
Yeah, it seems kind of aggressive.
He's not just targeting economic rivals.
Right, even traditional allies are getting caught up in this.
What's the strategy here?
That's a great question, and it really shows a fundamental shift in U.S. trade policy.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's no secret that Trump is obsessed with trade deficits.
Yeah, he talks about them a lot.
He sees them as a weakness,
Interesting.
a sign that other countries are winning at trade while the U.S. is losing. His view is that these deficits are proof of unfair trade practices.
That need to be fixed.
Exactly.
But isn't it kind of oversimplifying things to say that trade deficits are always bad?
You're right. It's definitely not that black and white.
I mean, they can just be a result of different economic structures, you know?
Absolutely. Or consumer preferences, or even how currencies are fluctuating.
Right, so many factors.
Trade is complicated.
Yeah, no kidding.
And deficits aren't always a sign that someone is doing something shady.
Exactly.
But Trump's approach is to use tariffs as a way to force other countries to buy more American-made stuff.
So it's like a power play.
Pretty much, and maybe even to get companies to start manufacturing back in the U.S.
Interesting strategy.
It's a very protectionist stance.
Okay.
A big change from the decades-long push towards free trade.
This is a great point for our UPSC folks.
Oh yeah, they need to know this.
This situation really highlights the tension between protectionism and free trade.
Classic debate.
A classic debate, for sure.
Comes up all the time in economics and international relations.
Definitely. Understanding both sides of that argument
Yeah,
is super important for writing good answers in the exam.
couldn't agree more. Now let's bring it back to India.
Okay, back to India.
The long-term effects of these reciprocal tariffs on our country are still a big question mark.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure what will happen,
There's a chance that closer trade ties with the U.S.
even with this new system.
Right, even with these tariffs,
Could actually help India's economy grow.
it's possible.
But there's also a real risk that being more reliant on U.S. imports
Yeah,
could hurt our own industries.
and make us more vulnerable.
It's a tough situation.
It's a balancing act for sure.
Potential benefits and risks all mixed up together,
Exactly, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
especially for the UPSC.
Absolutely. This is why this topic is so relevant for UPSC prep.
Totally.
It's not about predicting the future.
Right.
It's about understanding how complex things are
Yeah.
and normalizing all the different scenarios.
And forming your own informed opinions.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
That's what the UPSC is looking for.
Hitting the nail on the head. Now, before we move on to what might happen in the future,
Okay.
let's pause for a minute.
Sure.
We've talked about how this could negatively impact India,
Yeah,
but are there any potential positives?
that's a great point. It's crucial to look at both sides.
What do you think?
There could be some upsides for India, too.
Like what?
For example, if people in India have access to cheaper U.S. goods,
Okay, yeah,
that could be good for them.
makes sense.
Could boost spending within India and stimulate the economy.
Okay, interesting.
Plus, having closer trade ties with the U.S.
Yeah.
could open up new markets for Indian businesses.
Oh, I see.
And maybe even attract foreign investment.
So there's potential for growth there?
Definitely potential amidst the challenges.
It's not all bad, then there's a chance for things to get better even with these challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what the UPSC is all out, understanding the nuances.
Absolutely.
It's not about memorizing everything. It's about looking at these complicated situations and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, weighing those different perspectives.
And coming to your own conclusion.
That's what they're looking for.
Exactly.
And that's why we always encourage our learners to really dig into this stuff.
Yeah, go beyond what we're talking about.
Don't just take our word for it.
Right.
Go back to those articles we mentioned.
From Indian Express and IT and BT.
See what you find interesting.
What jumps out at you?
What other insights can you pull out?
What questions do you have now about India's place in all of this global trade?
It's a big world out there.
It really is, and this is just the beginning.
Think of this as like a foundation.
We're giving you the basics, the facts, the expert analysis.
But you gotta take it from here.
Connect the dots.
Build those critical thinking skills.
That'll help you stand out in the UPSC exam.
Because that's what it's all about.
It's not just about knowing the answers.
It's about understanding the questions.
Right.
It's about being able to really break down these complex issues, look at things from different angles.
And explain your own well-thought-out opinions?
This topic is a perfect example.
Yeah, with all these different implications for India.
It's the kind of challenge you might see in the exam.
So to all our UPSC folks listening,
We've got this.
here's what we want you to do.
Go deeper.
Dive into those articles, really engage with the material.
And don't be shy. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below.
We want to hear from you.
We're here to help you on your UPSC journey.
We love hearing your perspectives.
And you remember, this is just one piece of the puzzle.
There's so much more to learn.
The global trade scene is always changing.
Staying informed is key for doing well on the UPSC.
So hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives.
We'll be back with another hot topic soon.
Something else that's relevant to your UPSC prep.
Until then, keep those brains working and those pens writing.
Keep learning.
And as you're digging into this issue, think about this.
Could these reciprocal tariffs actually lead to a fairer global trade system?
Or will they start a trade war with consequences no one saw coming?
The answer is out there.
It's up to you to find it.
Best of luck with your studies.
We're rooting for you.